People of the world, welcome to Marketing as a Foreign Language. This, the 257th episode. Our guest today, he and I had an incredible conversation. Last time he was on the show, he's here for round two. He wants more of it. We did a deep dive into his background, which included, I want to say, England and Germany. Worked for an Inc. 5000 company, incredible soul. So we're going to have a good conversation with him coming up in just a minute. So stay tuned. Just in time for a quick recap of the news. Google and Microsoft agreed to start suing each other again. Oh, man. Can you imagine? It's like divorced couple agree to start suing and fighting, the ad tech giants. So both companies attempted to solve an impasse through a series of escalating negotiations as laid out in an agreement. This again from arstechnica.com, link in the description. The matter ultimately reached the corner office with CEOs Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai holding a series of talks that didn't reach a solution. That lack of resolution is apparently what led the agreements unraveling. So they had a non-aggression pact. Can you imagine that? I need a non-aggression pact with the people in my lives. Can you imagine, like a friend, you just slide this weighty document over the table and you're like, this is our non-aggression pact. So anyway, they signed that 5 years ago and the two companies set aside their numerous lawsuits. And now they're like, you know what? We're going to fight again. So Microsoft reached the end of its rope when it felt that Google wasn't paying their fair share in ad tech, whatever that means. So mommy and daddy are fighting. Another article from arstechnica.com. YouTube TV launches 4K support and offline playback for an extra $20. So if you want 4K for YouTube TV and offline playback, apparently it's only $20 more. I'm a YouTube premium subscriber, which I love, but YouTube TV has not really been on my radar. Just goes to show that these mega tech giants are taking over every facet of culture. So right now it's $65 a month for the base price of YouTube TV, which I believe you can get ESPN, CNN, MTV, Cartoon Network, that sort of stuff. So it's just paying for cable all over again. And now you can get 4K and playback for $20 a month. Put that on your radar. Last but not least, Instagram is developing its own version of Twitter's super follow with exclusive stories, which drives me crazy. If you're a longtime listener to the show, you know that I think it's so stupid that Twitter is unrolling super follows for exclusive content. But this just is my own ignorance because all of them are going to continue the money grab. Of course they are. Instagram is building its own version of Twitter super follows with a feature that will allow online creators to publish, quote, exclusive content to their Instagram stories that's only available to their fans. Question is, do the creators receive money from these exclusive pieces of content? I would assume so. Access that would likely come with a subscription payment of some kind. Exactly. So it's like Twitch.tv subscriptions. Instagram confirmed the screenshots. The difference is that when you're on Twitch, you can be ad-free by subscribing. And on Instagram, I don't know if you're going to be ad-free. You're just going to have access to the content. Talking about access to great content, did you know that you are about to be enlightened officially by someone whose mental health is incredible? Why do I know that? Because we talked about it backstage. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Jeremy Haug.
All right, good. All right, do we need a ceasefire? Yeah, what a mutual
non-aggression pact?
Non-aggression pact. Man, I was thinking about that and I was going, sounds like two nations, it's like a truce, like I think we were still officially at war with North Korea or something like that. It's just like we did a truce, the war's not over, but we've decided not to stop shooting or something. I'm like, my God.
Unreal. It's so funny to me because money clearly is an illusion that we all believe, and because we believe it, we make it real. And you end up with these folks in these positions that people envy. They think about the CEOs of these companies and they go, what a life. And to my mind, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a non-aggression pact. There's a pile of lawsuits sitting on your desk and you're talking to the other guy going like, hey man, can we not? can we just not? And he's going, no, we're gonna, and there's a boatload of lawsuits just appear.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think it's easy for us to think, oh my God, these CEOs, they have all this power and all this wealth and all this success, but it takes so much to get into that role, and it is such a pain. I mean, I know for myself, having been part of the startup, and then as we got bigger, it's like as you get bigger, there's certain benefits for sure. It's like, well, one are usually actual benefits, right? Like health insurance and 401k and a nicer office and things like that. But on the other side, usually you get lawsuits, you know what I mean? And it's sort of like it's just normal. I remember reading somewhere, and this is something for me I'd love to change is if you ever have I think a lot of people have the idea the only way to get rich is like to get hit by a Walmart truck. Uh,
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
you're just like, wait a second, wait a second. Why is that my vision of becoming rich is I have to sue people, and I don't know, at least for me, when I'm driving down the highway, it's like, I mean, I see attorneys more than I see anything else. It's I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I think we have more attorneys in the United States than the entire rest of the world combined.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. Yeah, and I just convinced one of my attorney clients who has some of those billboards to get on Instagram, and I'm really proud of them. Shout out to Mossberg Injury Lawyers. It's funny to me what attorneys go through when they talk about being a trial attorney or not, because a lot of these personal injury attorneys won't go to trial, and it turns out that the insurance companies know that, and so they'll get settlements, just not as good. And so there are trial attorneys that will go through all of the work. They usually don't make as much money when they go to trial because it's a huge expenditure of resources. But it's that the best analogy I could make is in basketball, if you can't shoot a three-pointer reliably, they know you're coming in. They're not going to defend you from the three-point line. They could care less. They're like, oh, you're going to shoot it? Yeah, you go right ahead. And so that's what being a trial attorney is. It's like, I might take this to trial, and they will settle oftentimes the night before a trial. The insurance company will finally be like, fine, here's $300,000. And they'll go, to their client, is that good enough? And they'll say, yeah, we'll do it. And then they'll be done.
There you go. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well done for getting them onto Instagram. I know that, for you and me, it's I don't know, it's sort of like secondhand nature. It's like, dude, you got to be on social media. You got to be on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I don't know about Twitter. I mean, I don't know. I guess
I'm right there with you, man. Who's on Twitter? Politicians and talking news heads and celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for that reason we should be on Twitter. I mean, I don't know, but
hard pass. I don't like Twitter at all.
Like, I don't quite understand that, but like, I don't know. It's like, get on Facebook, man. Get on Instagram. Get on YouTube. If you've got a younger audience, get on TikTok. If Instagram doesn't tear off that entire audience with their reels. But yeah, I think it's funny all the basics that you got to get in as a business owner. Because for me, it's what I like is I've seen, $12 million business from when we started as $500,000 and seen that whole progression and all the mistakes. And honestly, when we started there were 6 business partners, and they had all had their own businesses previously that had done multiple millions of dollars. So they sort of knew what they were doing already. And I got to see a lot of those successful actions. So for me now, when I'm starting my own business, I'm like, okay, I've got a CRM. It's free, right? It was one of the first things I did. I found a free CRM. It tracks all of my emails. It connects to my Google ads, my Facebook ads. I got it all hooked up. And, I'm like, okay, good. That's great. And I'm figuring out multiple revenue streams, right? Like I'm talking to somebody right now, and it's interesting. He does mold testing, right? So he goes into people's homes and does air quality testing, and it's $150 inspection, $350 like lab testing or something like that. And I'm like, cool. Well, what's your upsell? And he's like, well, I don't have one. I'm like, okay, that's a problem, right? Because he's like, well, Jeremy, I need marketing, I need new clients. And I'm like, cool. He's like, but it can only cost me $100 per every client that I close. So I'm like, oh, that's it's possible, right? Like it's definitely doable, but I'm like, God, how can we work together and figure out how to increase the lifetime value of a new client for you to the point where it's like, okay, good. Even if he doesn't do the service, it's like, okay, good. Okay, so you did the inspection, you found some mold. Can you refer to a mold remediation company? Will they give you a referral fee? Is there anything else that he can offer on his own, right? Like something to increase that value for that new client for him, where it's like, because it makes so much sense. You already got them in the door. They already paid you $500. Are you going to just end the relationship there? It's like, don't end that relationship. So I know for myself, when I started, I was just like, okay, good. Well, what do you need, right? Because I've got a pretty broad skill set. And so I was like, okay, you want Facebook ads? We can do Facebook ads. Okay, you also
Mm.
want to do Google ads? Great. You want to do SEO? Great. I took on a client recently. They were like, Jeremy, I need somebody to actually call the leads and schedule the appointments. And I was like, cool. Actually, I have that skill set. I've trained in sales. I can close deals. I can schedule appointments. And because the deal was big enough, I was like, cool, it makes sense for me to take this on for now, right? At some point in the future, I might hire that particular function out. But I'm like, okay, until I build the business to a point, where I can do that, where it makes sense for me to do that. It's really important, I think, to have those multiple revenue streams, because it is so much easier to take a client, especially if they're paying you monthly, which is one of the best things. I mean, I think you know this more than it's like, it's great, right? It's that stability of like, okay, because a lot of the clients I work with, it's like, okay, well, I close a deal and then they never buy from me again. I'm like, cool. So you start over every single month
Hmm.
versus something every month is coming in, and then you go, okay, good, what else can I upsell them to? What else can I upsell them to? And even if you don't have the service, okay, where can you refer them to where you can get recurring commission? You know, because I think the name of the game for any business owner is, how do you build passive recurring revenue? Whether
Yeah.
that's in your business, right? Like you've built a team that's actually delivering the service, and you don't have to do the work anymore, or you refer business, right? Like, or you make so much money from your business, you go invest it somewhere else,
Hmm.
which then gives you the passive recurring revenue, or you're an affiliate and you send business elsewhere and they pay you a kickback every single month or every single quarter or twice a year or whatever they do. So like for me, one of my targets is like, I want to build enough passive recurring revenue where I can pay my own salary, uh, even if I got sick or I got hurt or I wasn't able to work for 6 months. It's just like, okay, well, all my bills are covered, all my overheads covered. I don't have to worry about anything. And I think that's, a target that we all have as business owners, and having those multiple streams of revenue helps with that. And I know I went on a tear there, so I don't know what the original thing we were talking about was. But
You're good. I mean, I resonate with all of that because for many, many years that was the goal. I mean, it still is. And there is a word that Ram Dass, one of my favorite spiritual leaders, his real name is, well, real name, whatever that means, is Richard Alpert. He was a Harvard professor. He's had this wild, wild life. He was one of the original psychedelic people with Timothy Leary, like back in the day. Really wild. He's still alive. He's very old. He had a stroke, and he's just this incredible, incredible human being. Anyway, he used this word extricate a lot. Extricate. And so I applied that to business. And so my philosophy was, okay, whatever I'm doing now, I want someone else to be doing in 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
Just whatever it is I'm doing. And I did that so many times that I got to a point where I was like, wow, I really don't know what to do. So I wrote a book, and then I was like, oh, I really don't know what to do. So I'll start a show, it's that sort of thing where you continuously remove yourself from whatever it is that you're doing, in the hopes that even if you don't know, and this is the key, even if you don't know what's on the other side, it's still your job as a leader to literally lead. You have to be in front. You have to be in front. And so I'm on TikTok.
Yeah.
Why am I on TikTok? Well, because I don't understand TikTok at all, and
Mm.
there's only one way to know it. And it's not, and I learned this, you can't just read articles about it, which I did.
Nope.
And and I read about it, and I'm like, oh, these influencers and these guys and these whatever. And I'm like, and so I started doing it, and then I got addicted to it. I got 93 likes the other day on my TikTok.
That's
And
awesome, man.
yeah, I'm just the social media news guy. That's it. I'm like, hey, so like, here's what, Facebook hit 1 trillion, or Facebook is offering podcasts now on the platform, 15-second TikTok.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, no, it's funny. I did TikTok for a little bit, and I got one. I got one of my videos to hit 112 likes or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm TikTok famous now. I mean, I only got 500
Ah!
views.
No, that's yeah, that's very normal. Yeah.
But I was like, wow, okay, I got 500 views. Facebook doesn't give me 500 views. YouTube does not give me 500 views. So I was like, okay, I mean, that's not bad. I decided for now, I'm focusing very much on my SEO games. I'm writing a blog almost every day. I'm working on the backlinks and making sure my website's set up correctly, the on page and the off page and all that good fun stuff. Because I figure, you know what, of everything, I don't think Google's going away anytime soon, so having a good built out website. But yeah, you're right. It's funny. I think about the startup that I was in is I started off as a sales assistant, then I exited that role, moved into finance, whatever's kind of random. But then I replaced myself in finance and kind of did HR and marketing, and then I built out the marketing team and moved up into a leadership role and replaced myself as a leader and moved up higher the leadership chain, and then eventually left the employee game to be an entrepreneur, run my own business. But it is terrifying because I remember times where I was like, okay, I finally hired that employee. They finally know what they're doing, and crap, what the hell am I supposed to be doing right now? Right.
Hmm.
And it was partially like, okay, I got to make sure the other people have enough work to do, which was sort of a leadership role in terms of like, okay, you don't want to hire somebody for 40 hours and then give them 20 hours worth of work because likely they'll just goof off for the other 20 hours, feel bad about what they're doing. And I mean, if they're an ethical person, they'll feel bad about not working when they're getting paid to work. And then they'll probably just blow off and leave you anyways, or whatever. It was just a waste of money. So I had to figure that part out, and then figure out, okay, wait, now what else am I supposed to be doing? Because usually I'd catch up on all the projects I got backlogged, and then I'm like, okay, now I have to create new projects, which as a business owner, like writing a book or learning TikTok or starting a show, it's like, okay, there's nobody telling you, okay, hey, what's the next thing you're supposed to be doing? Because as an employee, you were always told, okay, here's the number one thing you need to do, number two, number three, number four. Let me know if you finish everything. And you were always given something else to do. As an owner, as a business owner, you're like, I mean, I'll do something, and then I should do something else, and then I'm going to take a break or whatever, But so it's which ties back, I think, when you said, people have this infatuation with CEOs, right? It's like, or
Mm.
they have this idea that it's like, God, I wish I was a CEO. It's like, I don't know that you do. It's like, I think, I think CEOs, I mean, they read like 30, 60 nonfiction books a year. They go to 4 conferences a year. They probably work an average of 60 hours a week for years, right? Until they get to a point where they're the CEO. And even then, I mean, I don't know that I'd want the amount of pressure. It's like, I think if you're the CEO of Walmart and you have to make a decision that could affect 100,000 people's livelihood, it's like, I mean, that's tough.
Hmm.
I think, it takes somebody of character and responsibility to take that leap and that responsibility. Because I think, like now that I'm imagining, like I'm getting closer to the point where I'm going to hire my first actual employee. I'm like, okay, I
Hmm.
really want to make sure I don't run out of money to pay them.
Oh, that right there is just that is the quintessential thought when it comes to owning your own business. Is I was talking to a friend of mine owned a PR company, and she's like, you know what, I really like our I like our size. We're lean and mean, and I was like, okay. And she's like, I don't really want to grow, and I'm like, does your staff want raises? She's like, oh. And so it dawned on her in that moment, like, oh, I see. Does your staff want to be doing the exact same thing they're doing now 3 years from now? Of course not. Like
No,
they want the same thing you wanted when you were sitting in that chair, which is, I want to be the director. I want to be the director of X. I want 6 people under me. I want, and I suppose that person might want the same thing as you, where they want just kind of like for things not to grow. But I don't know, man. I think your average employee, at least I was, maybe I'm just ambitious, but I wanted more. Don't you think most people want more?
I do. I think everybody consciously or unconsciously wants more than what they have right now. I think it's sometimes, I think the best leaders, the best business owners, they put that path there and go, look, you want to become a director? I need this level of impact, this level of income, this level of delivery, whatever it is, and I think the best leaders, the best will show that path, right? They'll go, hey, look, I've been in your role, I've made what you've made. And I've actually succeeded to the point where I could bring you on board and I can show you what I've done successfully. I've documented it, right? Like if you're really good, you're actually documenting your successful processes. And then you actually go, hey, here's a path forward. Here's a way that you can make it to that next level. And I think the ideal scene is that if you have a whole team of people who are looking to grow just like you are, then that's awesome. That's exactly what you want. I think you just have to be able to run your finances. You have to be able to sell. You have to teach your employees to think like owners. Because I know even for me, when I first started as an employee, I mean, I had no idea, right? Like you just don't know what you don't know. You don't know what the profit and loss is, and you don't know what the accounts receivable and why are clients closing and why aren't they and why are they paying and what are the upsells and how do we make money and what is the overhead. I mean, I remember one of my clients, they were so funny because the sales team was selling a product, but they had no idea that for every product they sold, they actually only made pennies, period, right? Like maybe 20 cents per product, and it was a $20 product. But it was because it's like they didn't think about the cost of the product. They didn't think about shipping. They didn't think about the other overhead. And they were like, oh my God, we only make like 26 cents per product that we sell of this kind. Well, that's ridiculous. Why are we selling it? It's like, well,
Hmm.
because it ties in with all the other products that has better margin. And they're like, oh, well, that makes more sense. I think you're right. I think there's fears to overcome as a leader in terms of growing your business. But I think if you do and you show the path, your team will probably stick around and grow with you.
Yeah, paying them is primary importance, it turns out.
Yeah.
Um, I had lunch with this guy who had a private jet. He had the largest title company in Montana, and he said, "Don't be greedy," to me over lunch. He said, "You're gonna have opportunities if you're any good at your job to be greedy. You're gonna have lots of them where you can make a bunch of money." He said, "Don't do
Hmm.
it. Just don't do it. Pay better than your competition if you can. Pay well. Give as much flexibility as possible." He's like, "It's the team period. That's it."
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, when you're not in the middle of a pandemic, right?
Yes.
When revenue slipped 5% and you're not going to get the second round of PPP funding, and you've got some decisions to make. And the face is a communicator. People know when you're hurting. They know that, like, they can, if they're keen,
Hmm.
they can see that you're not really smiling or that you're faking it, or that, so having the stamina to weather the gut punches and the stress is really what you're signing up for. It seems like you're signing up because you're smart, or that you've taken good risks and they've rewarded in the past, or but really I think that the fundamental entrepreneurial quality is is mental health. I really believe that, because you're going to go through things in your life that are really hard, and you're either going to take it out on the people that you work with or you're not. And when you have just a job where you pick up the bottle and you put the bottle down, that's your job. Like, you pick up the bottle, you know what I mean? Mental health isn't the primary concern. It's, you can probably do it and still be in a terrible mood. But when you're leading, and it's up to you to come up with the next big thing to do, the next, or to make that next big decision, and you're depressed or miserable, or and everyone's looking to you and they're going, why is he depressed and miserable? And you can either be honest with your staff about what's going on and why you're feeling that way, and be a true leader, and not fake it, and say, hey, I'm going through a hard time right now, and here's what's going on, and here's why I feel the way I do. Here's what I still think the best reason is, da, 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 da. Or you can, you can lie to them. You can put on a face. I mean, man, it's a really, really interesting moment to be in. And of course, I'm talking about things I've been through recently. And just today, we're making a decision about whether or not to outsource a graphic design behemoth. I mean, behemoth. We have so many graphics, and we had someone on the morning meeting. And at the end of it, I didn't even make the call. I asked, really, I can be a total, insert expletive here, dealing with vendors, because I run right. So this particular company, I was like, you have to be using third world labor. Otherwise, there's no way that you can produce this, as many graphics as you're talking about. And I just went line item by line item, and he's like, I'm not going to argue with you. All of those things are true. And I'm like, okay, good. Like, I can get down to it fast. I'll be very candid with people, with staff, with everybody. And at the end of me basically, putting this guy in the hot seat, I didn't even make the decision. I turned to my employees and I said, what do you want? What do you want to do? And if they had just said no, it'd have been a no. And if they'd have said yes, it'd have been a yes. You know what I mean? And so giving people the opportunity to take leadership, because now it's ownership. They're the ones going, yeah, I can see the pitfalls of this, but I think it's the right thing to do. Like, okay, then we're going to do it. So that's what's coming for you. That's what's coming for you. That's the next few years. You're going to be doing all of that.
Yeah, I've been through some of that, obviously, from an employee role, building that leadership and having to let people make mistakes or what you think are mistakes, I think is important. Because look, nobody's perfect, but I think as leaders we've gone through things and we give people information, but I think sometimes they have to learn for themselves. And, to circle back to one of the other things you said is, I think for me, like one of my core values in my business is transparency. And I think that's transparency with yourself, right? Just being open and honest with, hey, look, I'm not feeling it, because whatever, this deal that I thought was going to close didn't close. The finances aren't quite where they were going to be, so I can't do that thing that I was planning to do. Or, transparency with your employees, and you go, look, if you want to move up to that next level, of success, here's what I need from you, and here's what I can commit to you. So I think I think you're right in terms of like being right, doing right by your employees. Because I think for me, one of the things I realized after my last job was I really want to make sure that every person I work with, it's a good relationship. And even if it's like, I think I've had to do a lot of firing because I've also worn the HR hat. And I think every time I fired someone, I've always done it from the viewpoint, I think this will be good for this person, right? And being fired often doesn't feel good. Like I've had that experience of like, God, that sucked. That was a terrible experience. It's destabilizing. But I think if you have a viewpoint of you're there to help a person, and not every business is the right fit for every employee, and it's hard to know that necessarily ahead of time. So so it happens, right? People quit, people get fired, it just happens. But I think if you take the viewpoint of, look, I want to help this individual find the right vehicle for them, versus anything else, right? Anything other than, look, this isn't the right vehicle for you, let me go help you find the right vehicle. I think that's wrong. And I think, if you tie it back, it's like doing right by your people is building that relationship of knowing what people want to really achieve and helping them achieve their goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm an entrepreneur, is because I think that situations, organizations, associations that can't remove people can become toxic almost instantaneously the second someone unremovable enters that equation. It's one of the reasons why the school system is why teachers complain and complain and complain. And I grew up with two teachers. I was a teacher. They'll come home and be like, oh, this student, that student, this student. And it's like, well, yeah, because they're unremovable. There's nothing, you know what I mean? Like there's no way. And so like, it's not to say that this student isn't struggling with a million different things. It's that the 29 other students are going, yeah, we would actually like to learn something here while this kid's popping off in the back. You know what I mean? And so in the business world, that's not an issue. It's, look, I mean, whatever the issue is, man, you are not the right fit here. And for me, it's respecting my staff enough to say, you know what, we're a basketball team. I can't even pass you the ball, dude. Like you get the ball stolen from you every single time. You can't shoot threes. And when you came into this company and you said you could do all of it, like when we were interviewing you, you said like down the boom, 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 I can do all of it. And then the reality is that you can't. And so for me, it's, you know what, I have to respect my team enough not to make them suffer. You know, it's not fair to them. It's not fair to these people that are working incredibly hard. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Marketing is a Foreign Language, live on the YouTube machine, youtube.com/Send It Rising. Join us after the fact, iTunes and Spotify, or again, youtube.com/Send It Rising. Marketing as a Foreign Language is the name of the show. Send It Rising is the name of the agency. I happen to own SEO, pay-per-click, WordPress, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, graphic design, you name it, we do it. Our guest on the show today, the Haug, the one, the only. Let's make sure we know how we can reach him. So, Jeremy, do you want to share with us where they can do just that?
Sure. I can't do it quite as fast as you can rattle off that entire thing, which was very impressive. Give you all the kudos in the world to that. My website is b2bbusinessexperts.com. It's the letter B, the number 2, the letter B, the word business, experts with an S.com. I'll say it one more time, b2bbusinessexperts.com. And so if you're a business targeting other businesses, we do Facebook ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, not really Twitter ads because nobody should be doing Twitter, and we do CRMs and a bunch more. So if you need help, and especially if you're in Tampa Bay, I'd love to meet with you. I'm local here in Clearwater, so reach out to me. I'm right on my website. You can chat with me. You can email me, or give me a call, 727-348-9620.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Jeremy for swinging by the show for round 2. We appreciate it. And we'll see y'all